Welcome to the second drawing tutorial. This is a photograph of Chinatown, Singapore, which you can download. And this is the photo we will be using for this tutorial. As usual, when you're sketching on location, it's best to walk around the area first to scout for the best position to sketch, to look for the best view, look for a shady spot where you can stand or sit to draw. Here's a close-up on the red building on the right side, which you can see is very detailed. So in this tutorial, we are going to simplify all this detail, and I'm going to show you how. Now I picked this particular scene because I like the dynamic lines created by the perspective, and there is strong light and shadows. So the light source is actually coming from this direction. So the cast shadows you can see are on the ground, on the side of this building, and also on the side of this building. There are a few people walking on the streets. So when you draw people in your scene, it's going to make your scene look more lively. This particular photograph was taken with me at a lower angle, so my eye level actually crosses the hip area of all these people. And because it's a wide angle lens, so when I look up, you can see all the vertical lines of the buildings, especially the buildings at the edges. The vertical lines, they tilt inwards, whereas for buildings in the center, the vertical lines are still vertical. But once the vertical lines go to the edges, they start to tilt inwards. When you're drawing on location, all the vertical lines will appear as vertical. So when you work with a photograph, there are going to be some distortions. When you work with photographs, there are going to be distortions. Because I've been urban sketching or sketching on location for years, I can spot the distortion. So if you're just drawing exactly what you see from a photograph, someone who has been urban sketching will be able to tell whether or not your sketch was actually drawn on location. Anyway, for this tutorial, I will be making some adjustments. Basically, I will be making the vertical lines vertical. These are the tools we'll be using for this lesson: Uni Posca opaque markers, white gel pen, colored pencils, wax pastels or crayons, watercolor. I have a watercolor brush here, and 2 cups for water. This is hot press watercolor paper, 300 GSM. I'm a right-hander, so I usually draw from the left side to the right side. Regardless of where you start, you have to make sure that you have enough space to include everything you want on the page. So for example, as I draw from the left to the right, I need to make sure I have enough space to fit all the things on the right side. Alright, one way to help you fit everything on the scene is to basically just draw some drafting lines to fit the composition first. So I'm going to fit this red building here using this light colored pencil, because later on I can draw black over the yellow. By using yellow or light blue, when we draw over later on, the yellow will sort of disappear. You can see the color of yellow, it's not producing a lot of contrast against the white of the paper. I've just blocked out the positions of the buildings, but you probably cannot see the lines. Anyway, let's start. So I'm going to draw again the largest or longest element first, in this case the shophouse on the left side. This is the top, and this is the midway point. There is this signboard here, which I'm going to draw. This is the pole of the signboard. We have a person walking here. When you're drawing people, go slow and try to draw what you see rather than what you think you see. So when you draw, really focus on the shape of the person. When you're drawing a location, drawing people is actually more challenging because people are always moving. Alright, so let's draw the roof here. There's an extension here at the top. Now when you draw the very steep angled lines there, you may want to use a pencil to measure the angle, and remember that angle, because for beginners, these diagonal lines, sometimes they may play tricks on your eyes. So one thing I do is to use this pencil and put it down, or I may stretch out my arm and measure the angle and remember the angle. So when you're drawing, don't think of yourself as drawing a roof, think of yourself as drawing an angled line, and the angle is the one that you remember. So this will come down here, and this is the side of the wall, the right side of the wall of this building here. There is this signboard here, which you probably can't tell it's a signboard that's hanging on the side here. And we can add some little details here. Now the windows here on this side are very compressed, so you can draw like really compressed windows, but we'll draw them later on. Let's divide this building here into smaller and smaller sections. So there's a line that runs beneath the signboard here and above this sign here, road sign here. And this line will go down at an angle. There are some pillars here. Now draw big shapes first. When you cannot fit any details, when you find it very difficult to add any more details, don't draw the details. So that's how you simplify a scene. Okay, so we have another structure here. The main thing to note about this particular scene is there are a lot of dynamic perspective lines. So you need to get the angles of those lines accurate in order to portray an accurate scene. Okay, so we can draw the windows. Now the top and bottom of the windows, this top and bottom of the windows, they must follow the diagonal perspective line. For the window that is facing us, I'm going to draw them with colored pencils. So instead of using watercolor later on to color this yellow window, I'm just going to use color pencils to draw the windows. And you can see it looks pretty nice with the colored lines. This is a smaller window. And now I'm going to switch to using this crayon to draw those bullets. The top of the bullet is actually at the hip level of the pedestrians. And for this particular bullet, the bottom ends somewhere there. And I have drawn the bullet behind this person. There is another bullet on the left side, and the top of the bullet is right here. Same thing at the hip level there, but this bullet is quite near to us, so we can draw this really huge. And you can switch to using a black crayon to draw the patterns. So I'm going to draw this pattern here. Now if you are looking down, this line will be curved slightly. Using the same crayon, maybe I can color this person here as well. Make sure when you color, the shape of the person is still recognizable. Alright, you can either use crayon to color this person or you can use watercolor. It's up to you. So now we can continue to add the details. Let's move on to the right side. Let's draw the yellow building in the background. The top of the yellow building will start here at the midpoint of this tilted roof. I'm going to draw that yellow building with very faint, very light lines because later on I want to use watercolor to create that shape rather than use pencil lines to highlight that building. So I'm just going to draw with really thin lines. And make sure you draw the angled line on the side at the correct angle. And make sure you leave the width of the building, the front of the building, it's about 1 unit, and the side of the building is about half or 3/4 of that unit. We can add a person here who is walking. And we can add more details to the side of this building here. There seems to be a light here. Again, when you're drawing on location, you will be able to see more details compared to what you can see in the photograph. Or you can choose to zoom into the photograph. Okay, we have this person walking here. Now to practice drawing people, you just have to draw a lot more people. Okay, so let's move on to the right side. We have a short building here. It's a white building with a red roof or a pink orange type of roof. A gray building here with this dynamic line that points down to this area here. If you want to learn more about perspective, do check out my perspective drawing course. So there is a vanishing point right here and it's affecting all the diagonal lines. So this building here, this diagonal line will point to the vanishing point. The halfway mark of the building will also point to the same vanishing point. There are some cars parked in front of this building, which I'm going to draw later on, but let's continue. So this is the red building that I'm going to draw right now. I'm going to switch to using a red color pencil. And the top edge of this building will align to this side, this building, this yellow building in the background. And this diagonal line again will be affected by the vanishing point. Notice I place my finger here. So sometimes when drawing, I like to place my finger at the vanishing point so that when I draw diagonal lines, I can just draw the lines pointing to the finger without thinking too much about capturing the right angle from observation. So this is the corner of the building and this is the other side of the building. We have some roof here. We have a diagonal line here as well, and I'm going to I'm going to leave this as it is right now. Later on, I'm just going to paint this whole area with watercolor and draw the details with white gel pen. So that's some planning in advance. Let's draw the truck that's parked here. So the truck looks like this. The truck is a boxy shape. This is the front of the truck. The side mirror, we have this extension on the back. Some railings, we have the wheels. Now this truck is also affected by perspective, so the diagonal line should also point to the vanishing point. So you see this line that I've just drawn, this looks very vertical, so it's technically not that accurate. So I'm going to tilt this slightly down like that. And this line here tilts up slightly because it's affected by the perspective on the vanishing point on the right side. We can put some lights on the van, some wheels here, and another wheel here. There are some little details at the bottom of the truck. You can add that. And now I'm going to continue to draw the building on the back. And I can draw more people. So in this case here, from the photograph you can see people walking in front of the truck, but for this particular sketch I'm just going to place the people walking beside the truck. It would be good if you can have people walking in front of the truck, in which case it's going to create a sense of depth, like foreground and background depth, which is great. It makes your scene look more dynamic, more 3D, gives your scene more form. But usually when it comes to drawing people, sometimes I just want to draw this circle for the head, a rectangle for the body, and long legs. Alright, so let's continue to draw the buildings in the background and maybe draw some vehicles as well. Okay, so the top of this vehicle is here. We have the wheels, there is a van here. So when drawing the van, the side of the van, this line here is affected by vanishing point. This line here is affected by vanishing point. And for the vehicles in the background that are so far away, maybe I just draw them with little horizontal rectangles. This is the building in the background. We have a roof here. This is the edge of the building here. I'm going to use this little short vertical lines to represent the windows here. And there is this circular signboard here. And seems to be some trees here in the background. So for the trees, we can draw with colored pencils to create the textures that we want. And remember, when drawing trees, try to mix the colors so that the trees can look more interesting. You can actually use the green and yellow color pencils to draw this building in the background, but I wanted to use watercolor because there is cast shadow on this side of the wall. Remember the drafting lines I drew earlier? So I didn't follow those drafting lines that strictly. So now I've run out of space on the right side, and I'm going to use my artistic impression to make some of the shop houses here disappear so that I can bring the building on the right side here closer in. So this time I'm going to draw the building here, this shop house building on the right side first. And this bottom here, this diagonal line will go to the same vanishing point on the side. Let me divide this building into half, draw the roof, and then draw the window here. In this area, there seems to be a light post here, so let's draw the light post. There's a lamp here. When drawing, try to draw elements that are in the foreground first and then draw the elements in the background so that you get that overlapping look. Okay, it seems like the scene still looks alright. Okay, using the orange crayon again, we need to draw the bollards. So remember again, the top of the bollard, they all align at the same level. So I need to draw this bollard here. Another one here. The top has to align, but the bottom may end at different places depending on where that bollard is. And I'm going to use I'm going to use the black crayon to draw the pattern. Yep, looks nicer. There is this street sign behind, so let me just draw that with this crayon as well. Another street sign that is behind, it's a no entry sign, so it's let me use a color pencil instead. So let me just draw this street sign like this. Okay, and now we can continue to draw the shop houses on the at the back. We have more people in the scene. There are a lot of stores here, but many of the stores were actually closed on the day that I took this photo. So here I want to draw some tables, some stores. You may draw exactly what you see, or you may use your own artistic impression to add some little details that may or may not be there. When urban sketching, sometimes you can choose not to draw exactly what you see. It really depends on the circumstances. For example, if you actually run out of space on your page, you can choose not to include all the details. You can include suggestions of the details instead. So let me just sort of divide this into different sections first before I draw the windows so that I can align them more accurately. So let me divide this and divide this. So my pencil is starting to become blunt It's starting to become more difficult to draw thin lines. Now, if you want to practice simplification, you can choose to draw with a blunt pencil, in which case it will actually force you to draw less details. And for windows here in the background, I'm just going to use vertical lines, short vertical lines to represent them, because they are so far away, they are going to appear smaller. And I can make suggestions of those windows using those short vertical lines. This is the bottom of the roof here for this structure. And there is this flag, this colorful rainbow flag here, which I'm going to draw like this. This is my own artistic impression. In the photo, you can see that it doesn't come out like this. This is what we have so far. As you continue to draw, you will reach a stage where you don't know where else to add details. That is the stage where you can stop drawing.